Would you relish the chance to confront your bullies? Anne?
You always wonder, don't you, that if you were bullied or your children were bullied, which is a horrible experience, you always wonder how those people later turn out, whether they are ever sorry for what they did, whether they realise. And two of my boys were bullied at school, and I have to tell you, it affects the whole family.
Yeah, yes, it really does.
Because you're so desperate to do something about it, and it's so hard to do anything about. So it put us through hell at the time, although thankfully it didn't last too long. And I've often wondered what those two boys, particularly those two boys, turned out like. And my sons told me that they grew up okay. They came across them later on, and they in both situations they apologised and said, sorry, I was such a to you at school, and they all get on well now. And it's like had this incredible healing effect, not on my boys, just on them, but on the whole family.
But it's funny because that's what I always wondered. I was really bullied at primary school for a good 2 years by one boy, and funnily enough, the only name I can remember from primary school is his name. I won't say it on telly, but he's the only name I can remember. But now people always say, would you not like to confront him? No, I'd actually like to know how he turned out. Do you know what I mean? Did he turn out to be a really good human being and lovely and look back at 7 or 8 years old, which he will have been then, and think, oh, God, I was awful? Or did he turn out how I imagined he'd turn out?
No, I think it's never too late. If you were ever the bully, it's never too late to say sorry, even if it's 30 or 40 years later, because very often that person's carried that bullying with them all their life.
Yeah, but on the other hand, why even think about them? Because I suppose if, from my point of view, I was bullied at school for being thin and having funny teeth and so on, but I think I got the perfect revenge by being on telly with the same face and, I haven't changed very much. But I do think that bullying is something that doesn't just happen at school, it happens when you go to work, especially when you start and you haven't got much confidence and you're the new one, the last one in the office or in the shop or whatever, and you will think, oh, they're looking at me, and someone will pick on you to put you in your place. And I remember when I started in newspapers, there was one woman, she made me feel about that big because I arrived in the office. I was insecure and nervous. I know it's hard to believe now. All right, Linda. But it was. And then, years down the line, I went for a job at the BBC, and this bloke made me feel about that big. Even though I was quite successful, he said I had to be retrained. And that was just a way of saying that I was common. And there was a whole lot of prejudice when I started out in television and radio and stuff about how I looked, my teeth, my accent and everything. And it was kind of subtle bullying. It just cut you down to size all the time. But you must have
It sort of happened as well, because I did a series with Pauline years and years ago. We were probably about 16, 17, called Pauline's Quirks and Pauline's People. And we'd have guests on every week, and we did things about kidney dialysis. It was a bit like a sort of like a magazine programme, and we'd have a pop group on every week. And I just remember someone that was in the business rang in to complain about our accents. It's just said, why are our children listening to two women with Cockney or two girls with Cockney accents?
But wasn't this bloke a Cockney himself?
He was a Cockney himself, I know, yeah. And I actually saw him at a do once, and he was with his daughter, and the daughter was really embarrassed because he shouted out to me, I used to talk like you. And it was just like the most unbelievable thing, because he's the most Cockney person that you would know.
That particular person who we're not naming made a fortune out of talking like Cockney.
Yes, exactly. He did. He did.
But bullying is quite subtle, I think. Sometimes you're being bullied and you just think it can't be happening to me. It's just subtle things, like people go for a drink and they leave you out after work.
Awful.
And you're just made to feel a little bit weird and a little bit like not fitting in, and then you start to look at yourself and you find fault.
And it's
with
amazing
yourself.
that it does still go on in adulthood and workplaces.
Even
and,
if you're so-called successful.
Yes, absolutely.
It can make you, people can still make you feel really small by saying something.
Have you ever confronted any bullies? Have you ever confronted anyone that's bullied you in the past?
I was really, really bullied by someone who's a very well-known newspaper editor, and I wouldn't even dignify them by calling them by name now, because I decided that after I stopped working with them, I wouldn't mention them. I'd just exorcise them from my, cut them out of my head. And actually, I was at a big awards ceremony a few years later, and someone was so upset, one of my work colleagues, about what this person had done to me, he went up and punched him in the face. It's really pathetic. And can I say to people out there, if someone is bullying you, I have got a very, very good top JSP tip. You get a sheet of white card and you do a drawing of them on it, and then you get a biro and you do it. And you feel fantastic.
But you tear it up. And also, also, as well, I think as well, when you have been bullied, I know with me, I've been bullied in the workplace in the past as well. Some part of it, as awful as it is, there's another part of you that makes you then strive even harder to show them and be successful. And I always believe in karma as well, you know, and I love, because people can't stand it then if you're successful when they've tried to shoot you down. And, you know, I've done that in the past, and I think that's a lovely way to go. Yeah, still
Confucius.
here. Still working, still working. Yeah.
I know a lot of things get attributed to Confucius, which he might not have said, but apparently he said, if you wait on the bridge long enough, the body of your enemy will float by. And I think it's been true. People who were horrible years and years ago have got their comeuppance.
Really?
Yeah, I think people do get their comeuppance.
But do you have a list of them?
Yeah. I know exactly who they are. There are one or two still waiting to float by.
Oh. Remind me not to pass you if you're ever on a bridge.